Today we're going to be discussing polynomials. Now, polynomials can be monomials, binomials, trinomials, or even more than that. A polynomial is an expression with two or more algebraic terms. Okay, what we have here is a trinomial, which of course is a polynomial. And we're going to work with this to see how polynomials work. And here we're given a trinomial where the value of x is -4. So let's insert that value into where the x's are. Okay, I inserted the value for x, which is -4, where the x's were. I did not change anything else. I didn't change the coefficients. I didn't change the squares. I didn't change the signs in front of any other coefficients. I just had two x's. It was x squared and x. And the only thing I did is I put parentheses there and inserted the value of -4 in there. So why don't we do that? Why don't we start with what is the square of -4? Well, -4, careful, -4 times -4 is 16. That is to say positive 16, because we're not just squaring the 4, we're squaring the negative, which would be negative times negative. You already know that's positive, and 4 times 4. Don't get confused about that. Like we said, we have a positive 16, and 16 times 2 is 32. And so what we have left to multiply out is -4 times -4. That's a negative times a negative. That's going to be a positive. 4 times 4 is 16. Now we have something that we can work with. 32 plus 16 plus 6 is 54. Now the next problem in the book is pretty much the same problem, except that they put a negative in front of the x squared. Let me show you how that works. It's just a warning to watch your signs. Now, leave the sign alone, and let's insert -4 where the x is. Okay, as we insert that numerical value, maybe you're starting to see what's going on. We have a negative sign here, and we have, that's right, two negative signs there, because the negative sign is squared. See, what are we squaring? We just did this problem, or we did something similar to it. What are we squaring? Everything inside the parentheses. Remember, that exponent is next to the parentheses, so it applies to the parentheses, which means it applies to everything inside the parentheses. It applies to the 4, and it applies to the negative sign. Now, negative times negative is positive. 4 times 4 is 16. And we still have that negative outside of the parentheses. And once we remove that parentheses, we're going to have -16. I'm not going to even do that. Let's move on to the next problem. Well, here we have two trinomials, and we're being asked to add them together. To add them together, we can only add like terms. And if you remember from an earlier lesson, to add like terms have to have the same variable. You can't add A to B. You can't add AB to A. And that's not a problem here because they're all x's. We have an x here, an x here, an x here, and an x there. So that's not a problem. But like terms also require the same exponent. And so in the first group, we don't have any variables with a common exponent. So I can't add anything in here, and I can't add anything in here, but I can add the first term here to this term here. So let's bring that down. It's 7x cubed. And the next term is -2x. And there's no x's over here with an exponent of 1. Remember, that has an exponent of 1. But that's not the next term to add anyways. we need to be doing this in order, and that's the order of descending exponents. If that's confusing, you'll see as we go along. This is our only x squared, so we don't need to add that to anything since there isn't an x squared over here. Let's just bring that down. Okay, can you see that we're putting our exponents in descending order? We have 3, 2. Now we need all of the variables with an exponent of 1. And of course, we don't write the 1 there, so we just look for the lone exponent. The negative 2x is the only one we have, so let's bring that down. Good, and we run out of variables, so we're going to have to add the units. Let's see, negative 11 and positive 8 is negative 3, and as you see, our variables have exponents in descending order of 3, 2, 1, and 0. Great. And that's what that would look like if I put all the exponents up there. 3, 2, 1, 0. If that's helpful, great. If that's confusing, then just forget what I just told you and just ignore it. But the last thing that goes up there are the units by themselves. Now, you don't need to be putting that 1 there. You already know that. And of course, you don't need to be putting x to the 0 there. And of course, what is x to the 0? It's 1. What's 1 times negative 3? It's negative 3. So it would be the same thing. Now let's work on another problem that's similar to this with one exception. And you see what the difference is in this problem? That's right. There's a negative sign in front of the second polynomial. That is, it's in front of the parentheses, which means that negative sign applies to what? Everything inside the parentheses. So we need to distribute that negative before we add these two things together. And that negative will reverse the sign of everything inside the parentheses. There you go. And since we've distributed the negative, we no longer need the parentheses. And since that's a positive outside this parentheses, we don't need this parentheses, but I'm just going to leave it there. I'm too lazy to erase it. But you don't need it. And so let's add 5x squared minus 3x squared. And moving downward with our exponents, we need exponents of 1. That's negative 2x plus negative 6x is negative 8x. And positive 7 and positive 4 is positive 11. And so our answer is 2x squared minus 8x plus 11. And that is it. That is how you add polynomials and do your homework.